The deep dive is back, and today we are moving from the blueprint into the actual construction zone.
Right, into the execution phase.
Exactly. You, the listener, you've done that foundational work. You've completed stage one. You've adopted that asset owner identity, and you have a clear vision, that FI number.
We've established the who you choose to be and, the where you're going. But here's the strategic puzzle, the real question. Why does action so often stall right here? People have the identity, they have the target, but they fail to launch.
It's that classic gap between inspiration and perspiration, right?
Okay.
We know what we want, but turning that big abstract idea into a list of things to do tomorrow just feels huge.
It is huge because a vision without translation, it just stays a dream. Goals are that necessary bridge.
The bridge, I like
They
that.
convert the abstract identity and that, philosophical vision into something concrete. An engineering problem you can measure and manage. Without goals, there's just no measurable movement.
So that's our focus for this deep dive, the practical application. We're getting into the system from episode 15 of the Financial Independence Framework,
Which is all about setting these operational financial goals.
moving us, once and for all, from who you choose to be to what you actually choose to do.
And before we jump in, we have to give the mandatory context. This system, this whole series, all the strategic content we're talking about, it was created by Tamir Hacham.
And as always, the mandatory warning. This deep dive is for educational purposes only. Setting goals, even executing every step perfectly, does not guarantee any income, returns, or financial independence.
It's an intensely personal process. It's dynamic. And the sole responsibility for all of your financial decisions and all the outcomes rests entirely with you.
Okay, let's unpack that strategic connection. We're talking about goals, which is the do, but they can't exist in a vacuum.
Not at all.
They have to come directly from that foundational work, from stage one. They're the engine, but they need the right fuel.
Precisely. For a goal to be effective, it has to link back to those two prerequisites. First, the identity shift. You have to be operating from that proactive, disciplined asset owner mindset.
Leaving the reactive survivor mindset behind for good.
And second, that defined vision. You need that personal measurable target, the FI number. It quantifies what freedom looks like specifically for you.
Which brings us straight to the core be, do, have framework. That sequence is just so critical, and I have a feeling that's where people get stuck.
They absolutely do. The sequence is everything. You must first be that disciplined, knowledgeable investor.
Then you do.
Then you systematically save, you invest, measure, learn, adapt, and only then, as the inevitable result of those first two, you build that diversified, uncorrelated portfolio that actually generates financial independence. Goals are the do part, but they're pretty meaningless if you haven't committed to the be.
That be, do, have idea is powerful. It forces you to get your priorities straight. But what's the biggest trap people fall into there?
The trap is focusing on the result before you've even committed to the process, wanting to jump straight to have the freedom, the money, without first changing your identity, the be, or doing the disciplined work, the do.
So they're chasing returns instead of building discipline.
Exactly. Goals in the system are what turn that philosophical identity into a real executable plan. It moves you from I want freedom to I'm actively building freedom through these specific measurable actions.
And the source material really emphasizes writing them down by hand. It's not just a note, it's a commitment. It physically connects the idea to the plan.
It does.
So if goals are the execution layer, we have to get past just hoping. You can't budget for a goal like I want to be rich.
You can't. And that's why the first practical step is to quantify everything. Goals have to be clear, measurable, and defined by both quantity and a specific time frame.
If you can't put a number and a date on it.
It's just a wish. It's not a goal.
So give us some of those concrete examples from the source material. What does a properly defined financial goal actually sound like?
It sounds like an instruction you could give to someone else. Not, I want a property, but acquire a first investment property of X type in Y location by this date.
Super specific.
Or reach passive income of $5,000 per month by December 31st, 2027. It could be portfolio focused too.
Like what?
Build a global dividend stock portfolio with a target yield of 4%, or join a formal partnership in one operational income generating business. That specificity is non-negotiable.
Okay, so once the target is quantified, you have to quantify the path to get there. Trying to hit a 10-year goal tomorrow is just It's a recipe for burnout.
For sure. The system uses segmentation, these strategic time horizons, to manage that.
Right, the 4 horizons.
Yes. Immediate, which is up to 1 year. Short term, up to 3 years. Medium term, up to 5. And long term, up to 10 years. And what's really interesting is where the immediate focus lands.
This is the key insight, isn't it? Most people think their 1-year goal should be about making a ton of money.
Of course. But the system insists that the immediate goals have to be about resilience first.
Stabilization.
Absolutely. The immediate goals for this first year are all about stage 2 stabilization. That means killing high-interest debt, fully funding that emergency fund from step 7, getting your cash flow positive, and maybe starting some initial, very foundational investments.
If you don't stabilize the foundation first.
With any growth you build is just built on sand.
So stability first, then growth. So the short-term goals, up to 3 years, they then focus on what? Acquiring that first real income-generating asset.
That and significantly cranking up your personal savings rate. That's the engine for everything that comes next.
And then medium-term, up to 5 years, is when real diversification starts.
That's where you start building a portfolio with multiple uncorrelated asset classes to smooth out the ride. And then the long-term goals, up to 10 years, that's the big one.
Reaching full FI.
Reaching full financial independence, or at least covering the vast majority of your expenses with passive income.
The pressure's on that deadline. We have to stress this. The goal needs an exact due date. Day, month, year.
Yes. A vague sometime next year is just an excuse. It creates flexibility, which is really just a polite word for procrastination.
And a big goal without smaller steps just gets lost.
It disappears. That's why sub-goals are so vital. They break the giant challenge down into manageable quarterly or yearly tasks. You get small, consistent wins, and that creates a pattern of success.
That momentum is everything. Let's use the example from the source. A 10-year goal of $15,000 in passive income a month. That sounds like a mountain. How do sub-goals make that climbable?
The sub-goals are your trail markers. The 1-year goal is about behavior. Achieve a consistent 20% savings rate and build a $30,000 index fund portfolio.
Okay, manageable.
The 3-year goal is about leverage. Reach a $150,000 portfolio and complete the research for a first real estate investment, either alone or in a partnership.
And from there, it's about expanding into different asset types.
Correct. The 5 to 7-year goals are about diversification and scale. Acquire 2 to 3 income-generating assets in different areas, formalize one strategic partnership, and maybe launch a first digital asset.
It makes the whole process feel less like a single 10-year gamble and more like a series of planned projects.
Exactly. It's progress you can see and feel constantly.
Okay, so we've engineered the how much and the how fast, but the system really hammers this point. The amount is secondary. People jump right to the what and how much, but that misses the most important driver.
That's the core tension. The reason the why behind your goal is always more important than the number. We have to separate weak external motivation from strong internal drive. Your why is the anchor. It's the fuel you burn when things get hard.
Can you give an example of a weak why versus a strong one that really fits that asset owner identity?
Sure. A weak why is materialistic. I want $2 million so I can buy a boat and show everyone I made it. That goal falls apart the second the market dips.
Or the boat needs a new engine.
Right. A strong asset owner why is foundational. Why FI? To have the freedom to choose my work, to invest in my health, to give my family true stability.
It's about resilience, not just luxury.
Exactly. Why build a diversified portfolio? To protect my family from economic shocks, no matter what one part of the market is doing. The purpose is internal. It's unshakable.
And to hit these goals, you have to choose your vehicles. We've talked about diversification before, but for someone just setting these goals, what asset classes should be on their radar?
The system guides you toward a mix. The stock market, real estate, owning businesses, creating digital assets, and holding cash or other solid liquid tools. The whole point is to build what's called uncorrelated diversification.
Let's pause on that. For anyone who missed the deep dive on diversification, can you explain why uncorrelated is the magic word here?
Of course. Correlation just means how assets move together. If all your investments are, say, tech stocks and growth funds, they're highly correlated.
When one goes down, they all go down.
They all dive at the same time. Uncorrelated diversification is about pairing assets that react differently to economic events. So when your tech stocks are down, maybe the cash flow from your rental property is stable or even up.
It shields the whole portfolio.
It shields it from volatility and makes your long-term goals much more achievable because you're not constantly being knocked off course.
It makes diversification a real strategy, not just a buzzword.
Exactly. And another critical tool for reaching these bigger goals is partnerships, co-owners.
Right, to pool resources.
It's a way to combine money, but also knowledge, time, connections. It improves your overall capability.
And it divides the risk. It lowers the barrier to entry for bigger deals you couldn't do on your own.
That's the upside. But the sources are very clear about the danger. For a partnership to work, you need clear roles, legal agreements, and this is the most important part, strong value alignment.
Shared ethics, not just shared excitement.
I can't stress that enough. A partnership built just on money, but with different work ethics or values. That is a liability, not an asset.
It sounds like we have to contrast the two paths here at the end. The mediocre path is just survival day to day with no clear goals, just stuck in that I hope it'll be good mindset.
And the strategic path demands a shift. You have to move from I hope it will be good to I am planning and building financial freedom. You learn from the past, you plan the future, and you act with discipline today.
And the beauty of this is, even if you don't hit every single target date perfectly, the process itself changes everything.
Right. The act of planning and investing guarantees you'll be in a massively better place than if you just hoped. It's always better to try and adapt than to never try at all.
Even if you miss a deadline, the discipline you built, the assets you picked up along the way, they've already fundamentally changed your economic reality.
Completely.
So let's wrap up the mission of this deep dive. Setting goals is that essential execution layer. It takes your asset owner identity and your FI number and turns it into a daily, weekly, monthly action plan across those time frames.
Yeah.
1, 3, 5, and 10 years.
And we have to emphasize the immediate step today, this week. Setting that specific savings amount, doing your daily reading, checking your portfolio, it's the commitment to actually act on the plan you just made.
And we have to end with that solemn warning.
One more time, this is a personal, dynamic process. The responsibility for the decisions you make, the actions you take, and the results you get is entirely yours.
Okay, here's the final provocative thought for you to chew on this week. It connects your goal setting directly back to your identity. The system says to list dozens of goals. Just for now, focus on your top 3 for the immediate 1-year horizon, and ask yourself this. Are those 3 goals focused on wealth generation? That's stage 3. Or are they focused on stabilization, stage 2? Are they about clearing debt, securing your emergency fund, getting cash flow positive? The structure of your immediate goals will tell you instantly if you're still planning like a survivor chasing a quick win, or like a responsible asset owner building the foundation that's required to last.